All right, guys. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the all-important data privacy. Kind of a beginning to end discussion here, trying to put all of this in one lesson. Because first of all, it is absolutely important. Unfortunately, it is important. That's kind of the butt end of that joke, so to speak. But it has become overwhelmingly confusing, even to me as a person who's been doing this since 2010. I swear that they as in everybody outside of the people who actually even made the law. They made the law. It is what it is. You go and you read it, and it's the law. If stuff isn't on the whatever. If it's not there inside of the law, it's not part of the law. And it's become so blown out of proportion. So what I've done here is try to, I don't want to say dumb it down, because I don't want to say like, you're dumb because you don't know. Again, what I just said, it took me a long time to decipher what people were trying to tell me that I was supposed to do, and what tools and all this nonsense I needed to pay for to use to make sure that I followed the laws, and try to figure all that out and turn it into something that could be easily taught and explained to like a brand new person to this. So really what it comes down to is just protecting the data and security and privacy of your subscriber. That's it. That's really what this entire lesson's about. It's what all the laws are about. It just comes down to data privacy for everybody across the world. So as of right now, there are only really, I don't want to say how actually, there's more than what I'm listing here. The big ones are we're going to be going over each one that everybody kind of knows and has kind of become a dog whistle in the marketing world. So before that, a few things just to mention. I'm not a lawyer, so if after going through this you are still confused and concerned whether or not you're going to be following the law, then definitely consult with somebody who does this for a living. Again, I am just sharing my experiences, the things that I've learned, the things that I've done in my own businesses. It's all that I can do. I can't like force you one way or another to do this. This is just exactly what I'm doing and what I'm sharing with you. So, like I said, your number one priority is always going to be the well-being of your subscribers and the security and privacy of their data. That's ultimately the goal of this entire lesson, is to make you understand that that's why all of these laws, rules, regulations, restrictions, that's why they're in place, because people weren't doing that. So basically, if you have the well-being of your subscribers in mind, and you make sure that their data is secure and private, you're good to go. Using an ESP like Aweber or ActiveCampaign, their data is already going to be secure and private. What you do with that data is your choice, not theirs. The last thing to keep in mind, laws and restrictions will vary from country to country and state to state. They follow the subscriber around, not you. It has nothing to do with where you live and where your business is, what state or country you're doing your business in. It has everything to do with the people who are visiting your website and giving you their information. It's the laws follow the subscribers around. So the first one we talked about briefly in a previous lesson is called the CAN-SPAM Act. I honestly had never even knew what it stood for until I just looked it up when I put these slides together. Had no idea that it stood for that at all. However, it doesn't matter what it stands for as long as you understand what it means and what it regulates. So overall, I just took this straight from this page here. Let me move my big head or make it a little bit smaller maybe. Yeah. CAN-SPAM Act establishes requirements for commercial messages, gives recipients the right to have you stop emailing them, and spells out tough penalties for violations. That's really, actually I might have gotten that from an Aweber page. I don't know. Either way, visit that link that I've listed at the bottom here, more info. It literally spells out everything that's included, and it's really just pretty elementary when you compare it to the newer laws and stuff. All that it really says is that you need the person's consent to send them marketing or commercial messages. Once they don't want to receive those, quit sending them. Whether they click the unsubscribe button or whether they reply and just tell you to unsubscribe them, doesn't matter. That is the same thing. So if they've done either of those things, it is illegal to send them another email again. If you understand that, you're good to go. If you're using Aweber or any of them really, they will automatically put an unsubscribe link in the email. It's just your job to make sure that that unsubscribe link is visible in every message. You don't want to just, like, kind of an old trick people used to do was hit enter a bunch of times and make that unsubscribe link go way, way, way down at the bottom so people couldn't find it. That's the last thing that you want. You want people to remove themselves from your email list if they want to be removed, if they don't want to get your messages. It may seem like a good idea to remove that down so they don't just click it because they didn't want to get it that day. But you're hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself. All right, the second one is GDPR. This one is just for European countries. Doesn't affect anything else. Meaning that people who live inside of a European country, that's what this rule or law is what it regulates. So GDPR, or the General Data Protection Regulation, is a European law that directly states that email subscribers must opt in to receive your emails with active consent. Even if you're not based in Europe, if you have customers or subscribers in Europe, you must comply with GDPR. And it must be clear what your subscribers can expect to receive from you. I took this from Aweber because they're in this business. So I go to their site the first time that I have any kind of question regarding email. I go there first because they typically have the answer I'm looking for, and it's already put into terms that I can understand. If you're looking for the actual law and all the information inside of it, that's the link for that below. If you're looking for, like, the page that I found on Aweber, just go to Aweber's blog, I think. Or if you're inside of your account here, go to help, and then you can search for anything. So you just do GDPR, enter, and it's going to pull out. This is likely where I got it from, I think. Maybe I might have gotten it from a different page, but so this is their help area, and then this is their blog area. The blog is likely where I got it from, so let me see. Point is, you can find just about anything from if you go to either their help section or their blog section. So this one right here is one of them that I had opened. Probably wasn't that one that I got it from. It might have been this playbook one. Let's see. I don't know. I got it from one of their pages. I don't remember which one it was. I should have linked. It might have been in this one. I don't remember. Yep, right here. So I got it from this one. Is The Ugly Truth About Buying Email Lists. So if you got free time and you're kind of worried about this stuff, or you just want to be more educated, that's awesome. I've done a lot of that before. And it's good to do refreshers on it if you haven't done it in a while, like myself. That's why I went back before creating these slides, just to refresh my mind on what's real, what isn't, because over the years, so much crap is spewed out on social media by people who consider themselves knowledgeable, and they're really just sharing things someone else found that they're not even, authorities on the topic, I guess is the best way to put it. So you kind of start having different thoughts about whatever they mean, even though they're not really true. So it's always good to refresh yourself on what's actually real and what isn't. So, okay. Third one is CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act, which gives consumers, specifically only consumers that live in California, reside in California, more control over the personal information that businesses collect about them, and the CCPA regulations provide guidance on how to implement the law. So if you're looking for info on that, you can go here. I'm about to basically just give you my thoughts and experiences on them and how to proceed with little amount of work, which is kind of what I do best, is finding easiest way to do things morally and ethically without having to, hire a bunch of lawyers to create or kind of review everything and just for them to tell me to change this, this, and this, even though I don't really have to. There's a lawyer way to do it, and then there's a business-minded way to do it that achieves the same result, but still doesn't ruin certain aspects of the marketing. I'm not trying to tell you to not seek out legal advice. Absolutely should if you're would you feel safer doing it that way. Absolutely, 100% recommend it. What I'm sharing with you is personally, I read over all of this stuff myself, as boring as it is, because it allows me to take pieces of it and explain it to people, and I know full well that it's true because I just read it in the thing. So it'll make more sense after we go through this. So here's how we deal with this stuff as email marketers running newsletter businesses. Two biggest things, like most people don't even really think about this, but some cases it will apply to you. If you don't have European subscribers or European visitors coming to your website, you don't have any GDPR issues. So you don't have to worry about that at all. Meaning, if you don't plan on driving traffic from European countries, then forget about GDPR altogether. Just forget about it. If somebody comes there, somebody shares your thing on social media and somebody from a European site comes there, it's not like you're going to be breaking the law, because I still am going to tell you to do something here in a little bit that will kind of do a blanket security for you. Second, if you have nobody coming from the state of California, you don't have to worry about CCPA issues. The same deal as GDPR. I know, if you're driving traffic, if you're in the States like me and you're just advertising to everybody in the United States, you're going to get people from California. Even if you just target the other 49 states, people are going to share it. They have friends in California. You will get people from California. The point of putting this in here is if you live in Europe, then just worry about GDPR, forget about CCPA. Everybody else can this right here is going to make you what I consider to be compliant with everybody, any new laws that pop up, because it goes back to what I said at the beginning. It's having the well-being of your subscribers and wanting to keep the security and privacy of their data up to par. That's the number one priority, is keeping their data safe and secure, and having their well-being kind of front of mind. So here's how you make that happen regardless of where they're coming from. This is compliant with GDPR, CCPA, anything. Clearly explain how you will use their data and what type of content you will send to them. And be able to prove their consent. Those are the two things that you have to do to comply with everything, every law that's out there. In a second here, I'm going to go through things that you don't have to do, because right now you're probably thinking, well, what about this, this, and this, or maybe how do I prove consent or clearly explain, or how do I tell them what type of content? After you go through this, this next slide, it may be 2 slides, I don't remember, but after you go through this will make more sense. Just remember those 2 things. Clearly explain how you'll use their data and what type of content you will send them via email, in this case. And second, prove that they've consented for you to send them that content. You do that. I'll show you how to do that in the very last slide. I'm not sure how many. I don't think there's. I think there's this next one, and then the very last one. I'll show you how to do that. Very easy. What you're kind of thinking probably right now are typical things you have heard or have been told by other marketers who probably heard it from somewhere else, and they heard it from somewhere else. You know how that goes. Rumors spread quickly, and every time a rumor is taken from somebody before it's told to other people, it's changed in the mind of the person. That's like a weird psychology thing. It's kind of like, it's actually how memories are remembered and saved. A whole nother discussion, but like your memory is when you remember something, you remember an experience or a memory happening, you're actually remembering the last time you thought about it. You're not remembering the initial experience. And every time that you think about it, it may change just a little bit in your mind every time, and then that's how you save it to remember it the next time. So it's really weird. Like it's interesting to me, but it's probably pretty boring to most of you. It's the exact same way how rumors are spread. So what I was saying, it's a good idea to go back and refresh yourself on the actual rules, laws, regulations, and not just assume based on things you've heard over the last 2 years from people that may or may not have the authority to be reporting on that topic. Not saying that I have the authority, I'm just saying that I have the experience in this business, and that's what I want to share with you, are the things that I have learned, read, and put into action. And in some cases there were things that other people did that got them in trouble, even though they had what they thought they needed on the page. So I'll talk about that at the end too. A couple things that you don't need that most people think you do. So like myths, basically. You don't need checkboxes. So I'm trying to think if I have one. I do have one. I do have one set up on a page that, again, back when I thought I needed it, that it checked if the person was from a European country, and if they were, it redirected them to a European-friendly, GDPR-friendly page that had a checkbox they had to select before they were able to opt in. Like, you don't need checkboxes anywhere. Like, if you actually go and read the actual boring, really hard to read laws and regulations, it's very hard to understand that stuff, but I did. Checkboxes are not mentioned anywhere. Don't need a checkbox. And I'm talking about on an opt-in form. So name, email, and then people think you need a checkbox that says click here to consent to receive things. So consent you do need, but doesn't need to be a checkbox. Next thing, you don't need double opt-ins. So like we talked about in the previous lesson, what I call, or what AWeber calls, confirmed opt-in. Double opt-in is mentioned nowhere in the rules and stuff. You don't need it. You just need consent, or you need to be able to prove consent is really what you need to do. Next, you definitely don't want to or don't need to assume that your ESP is handling it. Just because you're paying AWeber $19 a month, their job is not to keep you GDPR compliant or CCPA compliant. The rules and regulations are based on the person's data. So it really has nothing to do with the tool you're using to manage that data. They have their own rules and regulations called their data controllers and data processors. However, it's your business, and it's not their business. Their business is to follow the rules that are in place for them. Your business is to, again, keep your subscribers' data secure and private. And in some cases, they need to know how you're using it, which, again, all you need to be able to do is prove consent and let them look to see how your data is being saved and used. Next one just drives me crazy. Like, cannot stand this. Every single website in the world, for some reason or another, thinks that they need cookie pop-ups and checkbox notices and all these different things for GDPR consent. GDPR mentions the word cookie one time in the entire document. and it has nothing to do with sending emails. It's based on how you are taking their data and using it. More so, how you are selling it for marketing, advertising purposes. That's the only thing when they're talking about cookies in these GDPR, CCPA. It's not anywhere. It has nothing to do with CAN spam. It's about how you're taking a person's data and using it / selling it. They need to know exactly what you're doing with it. Cookies, like, where do cookies come into that? It's like, if you just go to Google right now and type in GDPR compliance, there's like 8 ads on that page, 4 at the top, 4 at the bottom, all for these tools that will allow you to be compliant all in one tool. And that's like their whole shtick is sign up with us and you'll be instantly compliant. You don't need those because they're all based around cookies, and you don't need cookies. All you have to do, again, go back to those 2 things. Tell people how you're going to use their information, and tell them what type of information you're going to send. Sorry, I was trying to remember the second part of that. And then the second one is prove their consent. That's it. Don't need cookies. You don't need checkboxes, double opt-in. You don't need any of that stuff. So here's how you go from non-compliant to compliant in 8 words. And I'm going to use this as an example, because currently this is what I would consider not compliant as far as the standards of complying with everything that I just talked about in this lesson. This is what I was saying earlier, the blanket compliance thing. This is how I do it. This is what I've done across all of my businesses. After initially first changing them to cookie boxes and check boxes and pop-ups that I thought that I needed based on what so-called experts and authorities on the topic told me. After hearing or reading, I think it was reading a blog post from somebody who is similar to me in the sense that they don't want to have to mess with that stuff and would rather just be transparent and honest up front. And it's way easier, first of all, but it also makes you look good and it's better for your business at the same time. So it's like a win-win-win-win. I had to then switch back to just this, which is way easier, and I don't have to touch it again. So here's how I will take this, which is what I consider currently non-compliant, which it'll make sense in a second. And in just 8 words, I will make it compliant. I'm going to add 8 words to this page to make it compliant. So here are the 8 words. Subscribe me to your daily email newsletter and. Now, you can change daily to bi-weekly, bi-monthly, weekly, whatever it is. If you plan on sending emails daily, then keep daily. We'll talk about email frequency later on. Personally, I'm going to tell you daily, regardless of the niche. Whatever it is, again, clearly tell them what you're going to do with their data, what they can expect to receive from you, the type of content they can expect to receive. And then the second part of that is prove their consent. So here's the first part, is being transparent, telling them that in order to get the thing you want them, or the thing they want from you, that they are going to be subscribing to your email newsletter, and tell them the frequency is kind of an additional thing. Personally, I don't think that you need to include frequency, but I'd like to do it to be just as transparent as possible so they know that, like, hey, if I give him my email, he's going to send me an email every day, at least. This is the bare minimum. If you want to go even a step further, you can say maybe even down below, maybe in a smaller font, like, by submitting this form and giving your email address to vacationsumo.com, you agree to allow us to send you daily email newsletters as well as special offers related to travel and vacation packages. Like I would word it more like as a benefit. So it's going to just kind of repeat this type of stuff where by giving their email, they're going to get vacation. It was actually the description that I put right here, something like this. You're going to get vacation deals, tips, and savings. That's how I would word it, as a kind of a byline to that. So this is the bare minimum. And then if you wanted to add, I'm not going to. If you wanted to add, again, I'm a bare minimum type of guy. If you wanted to add another line to make yourself feel better, not necessary. This right here is enough. That you're telling them that they're getting a daily email newsletter from you. Now, if you start sending 2 emails, or you start sending a newsletter Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then only special offer emails Tuesday and Thursday, becomes a lie at that point. You would need to change this. As long as this part is true, I can include anything I want inside that newsletter. It's still a newsletter, right? That they're expecting a newsletter. The ads are ads. Like there's ads everywhere online. That is what it is. If you wanted to add another byline down below to make yourself feel better, just do what I said. Like by submitting your email address to vacationsumo.com, you are agreeing to receive daily email newsletters as well as special offers, including vacation deals, whatever I said, vacation deals, tips, and savings, something like that. The goal is to make it benefit driven. It shouldn't be typical fine print, because of like the fine print wording a lot of times it deters people from wanting to. This should be truthful, transparent, and honest, not misleading at all, but include benefits. Like the things you're sending them should be benefits anyways. It's not like you are lying in that sense. So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I've done in all of my businesses. I'll show you the gardening one in a second. So this is the line I'm going to be changing. Notice I'm not changing anything on the rest of this page. I don't need to yet. This is basically step 1. I need to get them to click that button. That's step 1. Now is where I need the consent. This is the final step before they give up their info. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to open up this. This is just the HTML one. Here is that line. Yes, give me instant access to the beach vacation guide. I'm going to insert my thing right here. I already got it copied. So it says, now it reads, yes, subscribe me to your daily email newsletter and give me instant access to the beach vacation guide. So I'm going to save that, refresh, and now I am compliant. Just a few seconds and 8 words later, take a non-compliant business to 100% compliant in just about any rule regulation. Now, the canned spam stuff is really on you as far as upholding the unsubscribe link and all that. Like it's your business. You got to take responsibility for a lot of this stuff. That right there, though, will save you tons of money on tools and frustration, like a ridiculous amount of frustration trying to set that stuff up. To just cut all that out. Tell them upfront exactly what they're getting. Be clear about it. Tell them how you're using their data. If you're not using their data for anything, you are keeping it to yourself. You're not selling it or giving it to people. You don't need to say it. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to say, I'm just keeping your data myself. I'm not giving it to anybody. That is compliant right there. So, what else was I? So a couple different things. I wrote this blog post back, it was actually written in 2018, I think, back when I was going through this mess. If you are interested in just reading, the process that I went through, and this was the blog post actually that I read that gave me the idea to do this. It shows the two, I think there's 2 different ways. Yeah, the pop-up way that I was using, or actually 3 different ways. It tells you, it goes through my whole journey of the GDPR nonsense. But this is what we are now using for the gardening site. That was the wrong link. So you can see very similar to this. Again, it's similar because it works. Like this whole, I'm talking about the design and everything. You can see right there. Subscribe to my newsletter to receive weekly gardening tips and get instant access to the 10 free gardening gifts. So kind of had to adjust it a little bit because I drive traffic to this squeeze page promoting 10 different bribes. So I just give away all the bribes on one page. That's a lazy way to do it. I used to have a squeeze page for, well, I actually still do, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had the squeeze pages for 6 of them, but I've just changed to drive all that traffic here. Then I can have one big download page. But that's kind of off topic. I'm just showing you, like, I'm not just pulling the stuff out of thin air. It's what I actually have done in all of my businesses. So what I'm still doing today. But that's that blog post. If you want to just go to, just go to my my name down to blog and just type GDPR. That's how I found it, actually. I do the same thing, but you see I wrote it on May 26, 2018. And the last thing is I wanted to mention the one guy that set up his site using, let me go back here. So he was using cookie pop-up notices. He'd actually assumed, part of the reason was he assumed his ESP was handling this part, meaning like it was kind of a 4, he wasn't doing double opt-in. He was doing all 3 of these though. He had a checkbox and he thought that just the checkbox alone was enough. And the checkbox was just a very generic text saying, I don't want to word it the wrong way so that people think that they can do it a different way and get away with it. Like, they were required to check the box, but the text that was part of that checkbox was pretty much irrelevant. It didn't mean anything. So it was like saying, basically it was the same as saying, check this box in order to subscribe. Like, they couldn't check the box. They couldn't subscribe before they checked the box. He just thought that they had to check a box, period. What really the checkbox is for is to consent to receive the information. So you can eliminate all of that stuff by just doing this. They're getting consent. Oh, well, yeah, the last thing I need to show. So you have to be able to prove their consent. And that's where Aweber or ActiveCampaign come in. You can easily prove their consent by, well, let me add myself as a subscriber. It'll be easier to understand. I think this will work. So you can prove consent right inside of your account here. That's one of the good reasons about using a ESP like this. So here's me. It didn't really opt in. I added myself, so it's going to show a little bit different. But it shows all of this stuff. You need to be able to prove consent. You need to be able to, first of all, show that you had this on your site at the time that they opted in. Second of all, you need to show the time they were added to your list and where they were added from, and even better if you have an IP address. That's really the main thing is the date and then where they were added from. So if it's added from like ClickFunnels, this is just going to say Aweber API, added via Aweber API, and then in that case you probably won't have the IP address, but it doesn't really matter. You need the date they were added, date and time, and then the source that they got added from. That's enough to show the consent, basically just trace the steps of how they found you, what page they opted in on, and then the date and time and the date of all their stuff is saved inside of there. the other part is the being able to allow them to look at their data anytime, what you're saving and how it's being used on your site. Let me, since I just did open that up, I don't know if it'll let me from here. I don't have an email in there. Let me pull up one of our gardening ones so you can see it. Sorry, give me just a second here. Okay, so here's one. This was a recent email that a newsletter that I sent. This right here is what I'm talking about. As long as you have this block right here that's visible, like I said, you shouldn't try and make it like hit enter a bunch of times in between here and in between that to hide this. You want this visible. If you have this unsubscribe link in here, and it's easy for them to find, you are CAN spam compliant, as well as your name of the business or your name and then your address. But this right here, change subscriber options. I couldn't remember the text. This will allow your subscribers to view all of their data. So from here, I can see that with this specific email address, the only data being stored is my email address. That's it. It shows the date what date and time I signed up on. It's not showing the website, probably because I just added myself from inside of Aweber, like I just showed you how I did. It also shows what lists I'm subscribed to, the name of them, and the dates I signed up for each one. I can change this information if I want to. So partially, like what this is good for is customer service stuff too, is they can change their data on their own if they want to change their email address. Like once you get to lists of a couple 100,000 like we have here, you're going to get these requests every day asking like, hey, can you change my email? Can you change my email? Can I edit my name? My whatever. They can do all that themselves right from every single email that gets sent right there, as well as unsubscribe. So doing it the way that I just showed you, you will be compliant. Again, it's kind of a blanket compliance. It's very unique in the sense that most people think it's too simple because everyone else is doing it a different way. Again, if you are concerned, I just recommend that you seek out some legal advice from somebody who is legally able to tell you this is right, this is wrong. I can't do that. I'm not a lawyer in any way. I can just share my experiences and hope that it makes sense to you the way that I explained it, knowing that I've read through all these laws and understand the purpose of them. So if you have any questions on this, I know it's very, very confusing, and I tried to simplify it as much as possible without oversimplifying it. So if you have any questions, just leave them below. I'd be happy to help. If not, then I'll see you in the next lesson.